There is a common misconception when it comes to cryptocurrency, and this is that all your favorite crypto projects are in direct competition with one another. Now, while this can sometimes be the case, you might be surprised to know that cooperation is much more common than competition in the crypto space. Indeed, many of the developers working on the crypto projects you lose sleep over are actively helping each other improve and build each other's blockchains behind the scenes. When it comes to cooperation in the crypto space, Near is without question the friendliest kid on the crypto block. For almost 2 years now, Near has been making videos for their Whiteboard Series, where they get developers from crypto projects like Ethereum, Polkadot, Cosmos, and Solana to explain how their blockchains work in detail using nothing more than a whiteboard and a marker. Why does this matter? Well, let's just say that the Whiteboard Series viewers weren't the only ones taking notes on how all of these leading projects in the crypto space work. The Near team has also been watching and learning, and what they've built might just fire up your FOMO. Okay gang, you know the drill. It's time for some due diligence. I am not a financial advisor, and nothing I say in this video should be considered financial or investment advice. What you decide to do with your money is your prerogative. However, what you should decide to do with your brain is fill it up with some quality information by doing your own research. If this is what has brought you to the Bureau, welcome. My name is Guy and I make videos about everything crypto almost every day. News, coin reviews, guides, nothing is off limits here, so long as it relates to crypto, of course. If this is the sort of content that gives you a hit of dopamine, allow me to become your dopamine dealer by hitting that subscribe button. Ringing that notification bell will give you a heads up next time I'm on your block with a new bag of crypto candy. I accept payment in YouTube likes. If you're looking for something specific to get your fix, you can use the timestamps below to scratch that itch. Alright, that's enough teasing. Let's get Near. Near is a smart contract blockchain platform which is efficient, community-based, and developer-friendly. According to their website, you can create a decentralized application on Near in just 5 minutes. Near was created by Alexander Skidanov and Illia Polosukhin in 2018, shortly after meeting through the famous San Francisco-based Y Combinator startup accelerator program. Near raised nearly $15 million in 2 private funding rounds within its first 4 months, even before anything had been built. This happened during a bear market. It sounds crazy, but makes a lot more sense when you look at the track records of its 2 founders. Alex is a former Microsoft software developer and the former director of engineering at MemSQL, a company which specializes in distributed databases. He also won a gold medal at the ICPC in 2008, an annual programming competition involving college students from around the world. Illia is a former engineering manager of Google's acclaimed research division, where he and his team of developers researched deep learning and natural language technologies which are now used in Google's translation services. He was also an ICPC finalist in 2008. According to Alex, the Near team grew from 2 to 10 within a day of being announced. Today, the team consists of over 50 of some of the world's most brilliant minds. More than half a dozen of them were also ICPC finalists or medalists. The Near team is also known as the Near Collective. Keep this in mind if you decide to go poking through their docs. I'll link to these in the video description in case you're feeling pokey. Near's development was incredibly aggressive out of the gates as the project wanted to, quote, catch up with the rest of the space. Being located in the Bay Area conveniently put the Near team in close proximity to other projects like Solana and Polkadot. This also allowed Near to feature some legitimately big brains on their Whiteboard series on YouTube, which showcases how all of these blockchains work at the technical level. It should come as no surprise then that Near has borrowed what I would argue are some of the best elements from some of the leading cryptocurrency blockchains and incorporated them into their own. After multiple testnets in 2019, Near released a restricted version of its mainnet in April this year, less than 2 years after Near officially began. That's breakneck development speed in comparison to most other cryptocurrency projects. What's more is their mainnet was released before they held their ICO, which took place in August, something which is very rare in the crypto space. Now, I'll cover that ICO later on in the video. So, why are you hearing about Near now at the end of October? Well, 2 weeks ago, Near launched the unrestricted version of its mainnet. This not only introduced the Near token to the open market, but actually handed over the entire network to the Near community. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but how does it work? Near is a delegated proof-of-stake blockchain with smart contract compatibility. It uses sharding to maximize efficiency, and it is governed by holders of its native Near cryptocurrency token. The ticker is, unsurprisingly, NEAR. Near is also interoperable with Ethereum via their Rainbow Bridge, a trustless bridge which allows you to transfer assets like ERC20 tokens and NFTs between Ethereum and Near. Eventually, it will even be possible to interact with smart contracts and decentralized applications on both sides of the aisle using Near's Rainbow Bridge. As far as architecture goes, Near uses a sharding mechanism called Nightshade. Basically, instead of creating multiple side chains as you would in a cryptocurrency like Polkadot, shard chains on the Near blockchain are modeled as a single blockchain. In plain English, every block produced on the Near blockchain contains snapshots of the transactions occurring on each shard. Each shard is maintained by its own allocated network of validator nodes. These shards all work in parallel. This design makes the Near blockchain about as fast as Ethereum 2.0's upcoming beacon chain, meaning the Near blockchain can process around 100,000 transactions per second. As far as block production goes, Near uses a mechanism they've titled Doomslug. Now, despite its hardcore name, Doomslug is quite simple and involves letting different validators take turns producing blocks in accordance with how many Near tokens they have staked. As a validator, you can unstake at any time, but if you do something naughty, like submitting an invalid transaction history, you'll get slashed. The amount of Near tokens you need to stake to become a validator is dependent on how many Near tokens other validators are staking in a particular shard. This is where things get a little complicated, so bear with me. Each shard on the Near blockchain has 100 seats. To be a validator, you need to hold at least one seat in that shard. And the stake required for you to hold that seat depends on the total amount of Near tokens being staked by validators in that shard. So, for example, if there were 400,000 Near tokens being staked by all of the validators, the cost of a seat would be 4,000 Near tokens. This gives validators incentive to become nodes for newer or smaller shards, since the barrier to entry will be much lower. If you insist on being a validator on a more popular shard, you can convince others to delegate their Near tokens to you so that you can clinch a seat with the kids on the cool shard. Delegators do this using staking pools and get a cut of block rewards generated by the validators they delegate their stake to. Block rewards are distributed every 12 hours, and these come from inflation, which is capped at 5% per year. 90% of these rewards go to validators and delegators, and the other 10% goes to the Near treasury. This brings me to Near's governance structure. Near has quite an interesting approach when it comes to governance. For example, it was actually the Near community which voted to launch the community-governed mainnet earlier this month. This required 2/3 of all Near tokens being staked, along with at least 35% of the initial supply, to vote in the affirmative. It looks like a similar activation process will take place when it comes to sharding as well. The initial Near chain we have now contains only one shard. The decision to implement additional shards will be decided by community vote if they deem them necessary. At that point, the blockchain itself will automatically create, destroy, or merge shards based on network conditions. Talk about high tech. Anyways, I'll quickly mention that it seems that the exact voting mechanism for NEAR is still being hammered out. That being said, I've managed to put together a pretty comprehensive picture of how it's going to look. First off, it looks like all proposals will be tabled using NEAR's designated governance board, which was created the same day the unrestricted mainnet went live. This is probably where you'll find all the most up-to-date information about governance going forward. I've linked to it in the description. Second, it looks like the NEAR team hasn't taken their hands off the project yet. We are apparently in the, quote, post-mainnet phase of the project, where the NEAR team will continue to add new features to the blockchain. They do note that the validators on the network will be able to accept or reject these changes, however. Lastly, there is another player in this governance game, the NEAR Foundation. The NEAR Foundation is a Swiss non-profit which is, quote, responsible for contracting protocol maintainers, funding ecosystem development, and shepherding core governance of the NEAR protocol. It consists of 4 board members, all of which are heavyweights in the crypto space, and include NEAR co-founder Illia Polosukhin. According to NEAR's lengthy white paper, these individuals get to decide who will be responsible for the technical upgrades made to NEAR. While it's noted that the community will get to decide who maintains the network at some point in the future, it does not specify when. Moreover, the NEAR Foundation will be responsible for holding and distributing the funds from the protocol treasury. That's an awful lot of power to give to a small number of people in a community government ecosystem. This conveniently brings me to the topic many of you have been waiting for: tokenomics. The NEAR ICO took place on CoinList in August this year. That's more than 2 years after the project was announced and 5 months after the launch of its restricted mainnet in April. Something you don't see every day, that's for sure. The ICO was actually postponed by a day after CoinList was overwhelmed by demand. Over 120 million NEAR tokens were sold to accredited investors outside of the United States. Only 25 million of these ICO tokens were made available when the mainnet launched, and NEAR transfers were not possible until the launch of the unrestricted mainnet earlier this month. This explains why the token wasn't on the market sooner. The remaining 95 million tokens are subject to a 1 or 2 year vesting schedule depending on what price they were purchased at. You can see those details along with other ICO conditions in the image here. All in all, the NEAR ICO accounted for 12% of NEAR's initial token supply of 1 billion and raked in over $33 million. Of NEAR's remaining initial supply, 17% has been reserved for community grants and programs. The details about this category seem to hint at future sales, airdrops, and venture capital type funding. These tokens will be gradually released over the course of 5 years. 14% of NEAR's initial supply has been allocated to core contributors, which of course refers to the NEAR team. These tokens will be released over the course of 4 years, with no tokens being issued during the first year. 17.6% of NEAR's initial supply was sold to prior backers. These tokens were sold during 7 private funding rounds, which go as far back as 2017. Together, these raised over $35 million. These tokens will be released over a course of 3 to 5 years depending on when the tokens were purchased. 11.7% of NEAR's initial supply will go to early ecosystem initiatives. There do not seem to be many details about what these may involve. These tokens will gradually be released over a 5-year period in 6 to 12-month intervals. 10% of NEAR's initial supply has been allocated to the NEAR Foundation. Half of these tokens will be immediately available, and the other half will be gradually unlocked over the course of 2 years. The NEAR Foundation will also be allowed to delegate these tokens to validators on the NEAR network. That could be dangerous, given that it could disrupt community voting. Although the details for voting have not yet been hammered out, during the first vote to launch the unrestricted mainnet, delegators could force validators to vote the same way they did if they had more NEAR tokens on the table than the validator. I digress. The last 11.4% of NEAR's initial supply will go towards operation grants. These will be used to, quote, support, maintain, operate, and develop the system itself. The NEAR tokens allocated to each reward grant are emitted over the course of 5 years. Now, I had noted earlier that inflation is used to pay for block rewards. This inflation rate is 5% per year, and it's there to prevent greedy speculators from gambling the NEAR tokens on derivatives exchanges. What I did not mention, however, is that NEAR tokens are burned to pay for network fees. Network fees on NEAR are incredibly low, possibly the lowest I've seen. With the current price of the token, there are so many zeros in the network fee that it's basically zero. This is why NEAR documentation counts network fees in yocto, which are, quote, as small as infinitesimal fractions of the US dollar. Believe it or not, even with these insanely low fees, there is a point where fee burning outpaces inflation. This requires the NEAR network to be processing more than 1 billion transactions per day. To put this in context, Ethereum is only processing around 1 million transactions per day. Now, a large part of that is due to Ethereum's comparatively slow transactions per second. However, I still find it doubtful that NEAR will be processing 1,000 times more transactions per day than Ethereum anytime soon. On the off chance that NEAR hits it off with the entire planet, at 2 billion transactions per day, the total supply of NEAR will burn at an astonishing 2% per year. Also, I hate to burst your bubble, but there is not much I have to say about the price of NEAR. There isn't really enough data to provide a price prediction either, and the short history it has looks pretty grim. I'll leave it at that this time around. If you do decide you want to grab some NEAR tokens, trading volume is hot on Binance and Huobi. Keep in mind that when it comes to storing your NEAR tokens, your wallet options are limited for the time being. Your mobile wallet options are the Binance Trust Wallet and the Math Wallet. You can also use NEAR Web Wallet, but it's still in development and not connected to the mainnet. I'll leave a link to your wallet options for NEAR in the description. So, what does NEAR have in store for the future? While NEAR is now community governed and there's no roadmap which details what comes next, a subsection of the white paper conveniently titled The Future gives us a few clues as to what the team has in mind. The first is privacy. This might come as a surprise given that regulators seem to be cracking down on privacy coins as crypto becomes more mainstream. However, established cryptocurrencies like Litecoin seem to be making the shift towards greater privacy in spite of these regulatory threats. In any case, the NEAR team states pretty clearly that they are willing and able to implement the same sort of zero-knowledge optional privacy you can get with Zcash. A second possible upgrade to NEAR involves the addition of private shards. As the name suggests, this would allow a group of users or a single entity such as a business to take advantage of the speed and security of the NEAR blockchain without making their business dealings viewable to the rest of the network. The last addition to NEAR that's worth noting is the introduction of mobile nodes. Supporting a cryptocurrency blockchain using a mobile device is nothing new, but it's also not very efficient, at least not for the time being. It is worth mentioning, though, that mobile integration has been on the mind of NEAR co-founder Alexander Skidanov since the early days of the project. While I'm skeptical whether we will be doing any meaningful service to blockchain networks with mobile devices anytime soon, if there's anyone that could pull it off in a meaningful way, it's the NEAR team. Alright folks, I think we've gotten close enough to NEAR for today. Let's recap quickly what this exciting project is all about. NEAR is a super fast smart contract compatible blockchain. It uses a delegated proof-of-stake consensus along with a special sharding mechanism called Nightshade to support over 100,000 transactions per second. Network fees on NEAR are so low that it's impractical to express them as a regular number. Staking validators and delegators have community governance over NEAR, which launched its mainnet earlier this month. This was after an incredibly aggressive development schedule by one of the most talented teams in cryptocurrency, bringing the blockchain to life just 2 years after its announcement. While the NEAR token is an inflationary asset, if the number of daily transactions is high enough, then the burning of transaction fees can turn it into a deflationary one. The distribution of the NEAR token is a bit concerning, but almost every single allocation has an emission schedule that goes on for years. The future of NEAR is unclear, but seems to steer towards privacy, private sharded chains, and even a possible integration with your mobile phone. Finally, the NEAR Foundation, which holds the keys to the community treasury along with a substantial chunk of NEAR's initial supply, puts the project in a vulnerable position. That said, the Foundation seems to have the best interests of the NEAR community at heart. I sure hope it stays that way. If you're still here, I want to take a second to sincerely thank you for watching today's video. If you liked what you saw, hit up that like button. If you liked what you heard, hit up that like button. If you liked the like button, hit up that comment section and share your thoughts. You might just get a response from yours truly. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and ping that notification bell if you haven't already. New crypto projects are coming out left and right, and you do not want to miss the stuff I have in store for you. Speaking of which, if you want to get a sneak peek of my confidential bureau files, subscribe to my newsletter by clicking that first link in the description. It gives you the lowdown on everything crypto, including tips, tricks, and even a few treats. That's all for now, ladies and gents. Until next time.